Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm joined by Coach Shilo D. Robinson, one of my best buddies from Waynesboro, Georgia, and head basketball coach for the West Side Patriots in Augusta, Georgia. Shiloh is joining me on this podcast of the Life Writing with A to share some of his memories and experiences as not only a coach, but some experiences as a teacher as well. What's going on, Mr. Robinson?
Hola, how you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. Hey, so glad to finally get you on here. I know his teacher and coach, we're talking twofold, but the underlying theme is more of, say, coach. I'm just going to put that out there.
Gotcha.
Hence the reason why I wanted to kind of look a little athletic today with my Morgan State gear on.
Love it. Always represent.
You got a basketball season going on, so we're going to unpack some of the things that got you to where you are. We'll talk, some background information as well. I want folks to kind of get at least a better understanding of who you are. But what I want to quickly share, guys, as I mentioned before, one of my best buddies from Waynesboro, Charlotte and I go way back, played basketball together, football together. We did so much together, kind of in tandem. Played wide receiver together back in high school when I was on the offensive side of the ball, backing
Absolutely.
up our other best buddy.
Absolutely. Both being backup quarterbacks and then at one time anchoring those corners on the defensive side.
Come, come on, Shiloh. Again, not to belabor the point or waste any time. I want to go ahead and jump into it, but I just kind of wanted to, set the stage and give everyone, again, a better idea of at least uh, who you are and who you were kind of as you came up through the ranks and where you are now. So first things first, Charlotte, I've already shared a little bit about you, right? But just give us a better indication of who Shiloh really is and also how you became a teacher.
Well, Shilo Robinson is just a humble guy from Waynesboro, Georgia, with a Kool-Aid smile and a heart of gold. Um, love kids, um, love making a difference, and just so happened in the same process became a four-time state championship assistant coach.
Now that part there, Lo, I'm really going to delve into that one there. So you mentioned those four state championships, Charlotte. That's uncharted territory, no matter the state and the sport for that matter. So how does that feel being a state champion?
It feels surreal. The first one that came about, it was like, man, is this really happening? Or, is this possible? And then, once we got on the track, well, first of all, let me back up with that first one. Um, we had a very successful first season. We went
Uh-huh.
25-0 in the regular season, and then we ended up losing to Buford in the Final Four. But we were senior heavy, and the word on the street was, "Hey, with all those seniors gone and nothing but underclassmen, you guys will be lucky to win 10 games." And when those kids heard that, and you know, they got in the gym and they worked hard. Um, wasn't a bunch of high flyers and that kind of stuff, but they were a bunch of role players that did their role, and they took that serious, and they and basically jumped on a jumped on the track to prove everybody wrong, and um, to be able to pull off the ultimate, not only just to win it, but then to be the first in the school history. That was absolutely amazing and astonishing. And
Oh, the first
it
in
just
school
so
history.
happened right after Burke County had won the state championship in football in December, and it was like, man, I got to get me a ring too. And when we accomplished that goal, man, I felt like, I did it for all of us, that had worked hard, um, the blood, sweat, and tears that we had put on the football field, that we put on the basketball court. I was like, man, this isn't just for me. This is for Burke County. This is for POP. Everybody that was ever along this journey, he did it for them.
Man, that's good stuff. Coach Lowe. So I touched on the teaching aspect of things, and I do want you to kind of go back in time and highlight and touch on a few things with respect to teaching. Not only how did the teaching come about, to kind of expand on that, but kind of like what courses, classes, or what have you did you teach?
Okay, well, honestly, the teaching had always been innate. I think it had always been indoctrinated in me. It was inspired to be, even though I was a justice studies major. Tried to fight the idea of, okay, just being a teacher, but it just kept coming back. The first time where it really, flashed, 8th grade, we have a career day. Going back and forth, have no idea on who or what I want to be. And then, someone said, do something to represent someone that has inspired you.
Okay.
So I walk in, my white usher suit, pink shirt.
Okay.
Pink shirt, white tie, white dress socks with some pink stockings over my white dress socks to make my socks appear pink. And everybody said, who are you supposed to be? And I said, Mr. Carter. Mr. Clifford Carter, who was our basketball coach, was also our math.
I'm gonna make sure he sees this. I'm gonna
and and it was
I'm sorry, though. I'm laughing with you, man. You caught me off guard with that. I envisioned the whole thing. Like I was there. So okay, go ahead. My apologies.
Well, and the reason why I ended up choosing Mr. Carter, not only was he our basketball coach, but honestly, outside of PE and Mr. Seidel, he was the first male coach that I had encountered from elementary school. Had no male classroom teachers, and he was the first.
Really?
Just think about, as far as classroom teachers, there weren't many males.
Shilo, okay, I was a year ahead of you, and wow, I will sit here and confess publicly that I don't know if I really internalized it that way. And now I look to the side. I'm playing every grade back, right? And Shilo, I don't think I had a male teacher until high school. Please go ahead. Oh my goodness!
And so, being the first male teacher, and having someone that would actually pour into you, and it actually it made a difference. It was like, he would always pull us to the side, and of course, he'd always joke and what's not, but whenever it came down to real life experiences, he was that guy. He was that father figure that a lot of people didn't have, because there weren't a whole lot of males that were around. If they were pretty much in administration, but they were not in the classroom.
Exactly. Now I can definitely relate to that part. Yes. Wow, Lo, man, you hit me with an uppercut on that one, because I'm sitting here struggling. I'm like, hold up, that's a shared experience for us, because I think I was in the same boat as most of us, around our age group or grade were.
Right. And
Man.
so, fast forward into high school and, get a few more, but the one that stood out there was Mr. Simpson. And
Yep.
so Simp was our guy, and then he was the senior advisor. And I don't know whether they started it, your senior year or my senior year, but they started a group called Future Georgia Educators, and I joined
I
Future
remember
Georgia
that.
Educators, and
Hmm.
so they would end up, taking us on trips and basically showing the different um, options as far as
Hmm.
going
Hmm.
into education.
Wow.
And so, um, like I said, had always thought about it, but also, as far as influences, Pauline Jenkins, who was, a godmother, she was one of those that pushed as well. And she was like, okay, I hear the teaching part, but she was like, I want you to do something more.
Right.
and
Right.
and that's where the something more started to come in and sink in. And so going on to Southern and getting that degree in justice studies, with the minor in sociology, I did my internship with state and superior court.
Okay.
And so, and 2 weeks into my internship, they came to me and they were like, hey, we we like what you bring to the table. you know we'd like to go ahead and hire you part-time, and upon your graduation, you know you'll be a clerk of court. And so, of course, I talked with my grandmother, and my grandmother like, you don't take money off the table, son. So I graduated Mother's Day, and my birthday was the next day, and I
Hmm.
had to report to work. And the rest was history there. And I was in both state and superior court. I got to do a little juvenile court, and when that pretty much stuck with me as far as going
Uh-huh.
in. And so doing the juvenile and doing the probation and those things, kept seeing young kids, especially young black males, come through. And I was like, okay, there has to be something to get to these kids before they get to this point.
Mm.
And then um, that's when the opportunity came for me to come home and go to communities and schools.
Right.
And so when in being communities and schools, I had an opportunity to go through all of the schools, the elementary, the middle, the high, and be able to you know, mentor, listen to some of the problems,
Uh-huh.
also get to be a voice on how we could end up addressing some of the problems. And then, um, still was doing DJJ part time, and I started having to shadow some of the students that were on the caseload. And
Oh.
And so when I got to shadow some of the students, of course, from the teacher standpoint, they were like, "Uh-huh, you gotta act right today. He's watching you." And that was part of it. But then coming into the classroom and seeing how some of the teachers taught, I would get to the kids afterwards and I would have to, hey man, I apologize. I see how you fell asleep in this class. This class was boring.
Ooh.
So
Ooh.
it's like, how do we keep these kids' attention?
Right.
And so my deal was, hey, maybe I would like to do this, but if I do, I got to make sure I can bring something to the table that's not only going to educate, but to keep these kids' attention. And
Right.
so I'm not so monotone
Exactly.
or your class is boring. What can I do to make that class interesting? And so um, fast forward a few years later, I got the opportunity to um, come to Augusta. I actually got a
Hmm.
call while I was at CIS in my office, and
Yeah. Yeah.
Miss Tanithia Beasley, um, who was the principal at Collins. At that time, it was Collins Elementary, but it
Uh-huh.
was becoming Collins K-8. And she said, "Mr. Robinson, you ready for me to get you out of that country?" Like, what are you talking about? I don't have time for this today. It was like pre-planning, getting ready. I got to set up all these programs. I got to go meet these principals.
Uh-huh.
I don't have time to take off to go for an interview. And she was like, "No, there's no interview. I'm sitting here with superintendent. The job is yours. We're about to become a middle school, which means we're going to have sports. And I've already told them who my basketball coach is going to be.
Oh,
Now,
oh,
all you have to do is say yes." I was like,
okay.
"Whoa." I said, "Okay, so what areas do you have?" She was like, "You told me that, you know, history was your background." Well, back up a little bit. But while I was at CIS, I had
Uh-huh.
just went in one Saturday and taken the gates just off the rim just to see what it would be
Okay.
like.
Yeah.
Um, and that was because, when you're working for a nonprofit, everything is grant based.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, what can I do that might be a little bit more stable as well? So I went off the street and took the U.S. history test for middle grades and passed without studying. Thank you, Ms. I. That Burke County comprehensive high school education. um, so she said, I have history and I have PE. And I'm like, my hand, because I was like, okay, PE is that dream. But I said, okay, I have to make a couple of phone calls first. Okay, the first call was to my grandmother,
Uh-huh.
and it was like, "Hey, grandma, this opportunity has come to on the table. Finding that opportunity to coach, and you know, but I'm here. I want to make sure that you're all right, and wanted to make sure my little brother Kendrick was situated. And
Uh-huh.
she was like, baby,
Uh-huh.
we'll be all right.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to do, then go ahead and do it."
Man.
I said, okay. Then the second phone call that I made
Uh-huh.
was to Mr. Simpson.
Ah.
And so, seeking his advice as far as that wisdom and that educator. And he's, man, I think you'd be a great teacher. Um, Hate that we be losing you in Burke County,
Mm-hmm.
but hey, if the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity
Great opportunity.
presents itself,
Yes.
then go
Mm-hmm.
ahead. But I need you to make one promise to me.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, so what's that promise? And he said that you'll do something other than PE because we need males in the classroom.
Ooh.
And I was on the telephone and I was like, okay. So when I called Easily back and told her that I, was gonna come, and she was like, okay, which position do you want? And I was like, go ahead and give me the history before I change my mind. And that's how it started.
Shallow. Shallow. That is one world of of a response. The Not a play on words and no pun intended, the history behind your becoming of, you know, stepping into this role,
Right.
and then it just happens to be history in itself. Man, what really moved me, and I have to quickly interject this, was just how it went about your decision making process, the folks you reached out to, obviously, your grandmother, and a subject matter expert of experts. Everyone knows the Mr. Simpson back in
Absolutely.
in Burke County. Um, I don't I don't I don't think I had his class. Did I? I don't think I
He,
did. I don't think I
he
did.
was my homeroom teacher. I had his wife. I had Miss Simpson for health occupations, but
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't. But Sim was
Okay.
my homeroom teacher.
Oh, and for the record, my first male teacher, especially the first black man I could think of, was Mr. Leonard.
BCE.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah. As you were talking before, it hit me. I was like, oh, Mr. Leonard. Yeah, he was my first. Yeah, but
That's still middle school or junior
wow.
high.
Yeah. No, it was that was seventh. I think that was seventh grade. Man, Shallow, man, thanks for sharing that. I never knew, like, from whence you came, the evolution of how you made that, uh, how you got to where you are, but more importantly, the decision making process of it all. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I got to ask you about the court. What are, say, a couple of the most memorable on the basketball court that you can think of?
Of course, the first championship, everything that entailed with that. Um, our starting point guard, Raheem Newton. We call him Dress. Shout out Dress. How you doing, brother? Um, he was like the think tank,
Okay.
and we had a relationship, especially as far as working with the guards. Um, he was just a boatload of questions. Okay, how do we attack this? What do we do with this? Right, and so in my preparation as far as watching film and these things, every day he came to my classroom and we sit down and I show him XYZ, or we go through and he'd ask questions. Now, as a part of that run, once the region tournaments are over and they print the brackets as
Hmm.
far as who's in, as far as what seeds, he and I went through the brackets and we went through all 32 games as far as mapping out, our path to get to this journey and get to
Uh-huh.
this end.
Uh-huh.
We picked 31 of the 32 games, including our state championship game and the opponent. We had
Wow.
one missed game. We had Vidalia to
Uh-huh.
upset a great Albany team for the Final Four. But other than that, everything else failed, including us playing Manchester in the state championship game. My wife actually has that bracket framed as far
Wow.
as us riding through, and was like, "Man, coach, it happened just like you said." Like, no, like we said, we went through this together.
Wow.
So that was an amazing, um, amazing moment.
Uh-huh.
Um, another um, would be during that same journey. Thomasville was actually ranked number one in the state.
Okay.
They had a 6'7" um, wing center by the name of Willie Clayton that had already signed with the University of North Carolina, Wilmington.
Okay.
And he can't, and Coach Hunter was a master manipulator. And so it shows that the sports are half athletic, but it's also psychological and mental as well.
Uh-huh.
And he had a partner that actually lived in Thomasville, and they were going back and forth as far as emails.
Uh-huh.
And then um, to this day, I don't know whether it was real or whether it was generated,
Okay.
but there was an email that was sent to his address from a Thomas County email address and it addressed Laney High School, saying they had followed them, they had a good run, but their season ends when they play Thomasville. And he read the email. He showed him printed it out, showed him the email, and he was like, "What? Are you serious?" So you could see the wheels turning, and like, man, did they really just do this? And so that next day at practice, it was kind of different because they're usually kind of jovial and hanging around trying to. And practice was totally different.
Ooh,
The
had that bulletin board material, buddy.
The laughing, joking, that it was gone. And we had a center by the name of Shaquille Cook, and we called him the chef. He was just finding his way. During the season, he averaged 6 points a game, but from the region tournament on, he averaged 20 and 10. Ended up signing with Tuskegee, but Willie was a physical guy, and he threw a couple of bowls and made a couple of strong moves, and then he came down and he actually elbowed Cook to the ground. And when Cook jumped up and shoved him back and got him, like, oh, they're ready. They're not backing down from this challenge. And we won that game. And to us, honestly, that was the state championship game because you had already taken down Goliath.
I knew you were about to say that. Yes, that was your state championship right there.
Your state championship game. Everything else was just,
And what round was that again that you played?
That was the second round.
Oh, okay.
We played. We played them in the Elite Eight. In the Sweet 16.
Sweet 16, yeah.
We played them in the Sweet 16, and
man,
that was the turning point, and that's when it was like, okay, we here. Let's do it.
We are supposed to be right here. I have to preface this the same way. I know you have many, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. What about the game? I know you have a plethora of games that were just memorable on all types of levels. Which one stands out like that?
The game that stands out the most right now would be the second state championship game here at Westside versus Providence Christian.
Okay.
One, because they pulled a tactic that had never been seen. I had never been seen. And it kind of struck a nerve. They came out in warm-ups that already had 2023 state champions on their shirt.
It.
Yes. They were there. So I don't know whether the mentality was there, but they came out in shoot around in shirts with state champions on the shirt.
Coach, I don't know if I've ever seen that on any level in any sport.
And that was their first time in school history getting there. So I guess that was their way of being prophetic and speaking it into existence.
Oh, okay.
But and they came
y'all had
out.
Something to say about it.
Well, we had to. It was totally different. With this team, with the first state championship team that we had at Laney, it was all seniors. So once they, left and graduated, we were young again. This was the first time that we had gone into an arena where you had almost your whole team intact coming back. So that was a different experience for us, but to see how they would actually respond. And man, Providence Christian shot the ball extremely well. They actually shot 53% from the three. They were 17 of 34 for three from the game.
Whoa. Okay.
And we were down 11 with about 4 minutes left in the game. So now, Turner calls a timeout, and he doesn't even rip into him. He just turns and he just asks the question. So this how y'all want it to end? And he walked away. And so they looked at each other and they decided, okay, let's go get it.
Oh, I have to segue from that right there. So what came to mind, your motto, your mantra when you're out there to get them, I don't know, to pick them up, to get them additional motivation? Like, what does that look like?
Well, and overall, it is and always has been handle your business or your business will handle you. If we take care of the things that we're supposed to, it doesn't matter what they do. And that's on any level. If we take care of it doesn't matter what they look like, what they do, because we know that we have all our bases covered. But I also, in that, overall, my deal is, as a coach, you always have to be firm, fair, and consistent. Your number one player and your last player on your bench have to be treated the same. It can't be any favoritism. So what goes for one has to go for all, and they have to understand that. Hold your brother accountable. And I've always given them the examples that, and I've never been disrespectful to a coach, or have always listened to our coaches. But the thing that always drove me when it came to us as teammates and everything that I've done was I didn't want to let my brothers down. I didn't want to be the weak link.
Right.
So, there are going to be times when you say something as a coach. As far as a player, it goes in one ear and out the other. But it hits differently when it comes from a teammate.
Yeah. Yes.
When that teammate gets on you, it strikes a nerve like nothing else.
Reassured. Yep.
Let's get it. But and I also say, as a coach, nobody cares how much you know until you show how much you care. And then
I've always liked that adage. Yes.
And so once a kid knows how much you care, and they'll run through a brick wall for you, literally. But if they feel like you don't understand or you don't care for them as a person, then you got a long road ahead of you.
Yeah. So this is your first year as first full season as the head coach?
First season as head.
Okay, I for some reason just then I was like, hold up, I want to make sure I didn't just misspeak. But you were there in an assistant coach capacity for a few years.
Yeah,
right.
Coach Allen and I have been together 15 years.
Oh, okay. Well, wow. Now, Shilo, I knew it was a while. I didn't know it was that damn long.
Yeah. Well, and all of it hasn't been basketball, because he did break away at Laney to coach baseball, and I was his assistant in baseball.
Oh.
So we collectively we've been together 15 years, and like I said, it hadn't all been basketball, but our time together as basketball is crazy, because during that time we had 10 full that we were together as far as basketball, and to reach 8 Final Fours and have 4 championships out of that. Well, he went to 6. I went to 2 more afterward with the assistant that we that was still on staff when he stepped down for baseball.
Okay.
And but when you have that type of chemistry and camaraderie, man, there are a whole lot of life lessons that go into that.
I can
But
imagine.
but of course, that main one is trust. And so
Hmm. Hmm.
definitely thankful for all of that he actually instilled.
Yeah, of course, of course. So, kind of a generic question in a way. Head coach, again, first season. We're Burke Countyans, but okay, get it, got it. I understand where you are now. You're at the reins of at the helm of the basketball team there at Westside. Where do you envision Westside being in the coming years?
Well, in the coming years, I think West Side will still be in the thick of things. And that's whether I'm in it's or not, because they have a great feeder system, as far as the middle school. And I
Hmm.
know that doesn't mean anything in these days because, high school has become the transfer portal, just
Ah,
like college.
yeah.
But um, I think that the energy is good. Um, I think that um, the caliber of kids, one of the two feeders that come to West Side just won the middle school championship last week.
Oh
Um,
wow.
the our JV guys um, lost in the Final Four
Hmm.
last week to Cross Creek, who won it all. So when those groups blend, they're still have talent. But of course, that other moniker is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So if you got these groups that are teaming up and they are
Run, run,
talented,
run that back one more time. We'll make sure the folks hear that one.
hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Mm, mm, mm.
And so when you have these groups that are just matching up, it's a difference between managing talent and teaching and coaching.
Mm.
And so when that talent decides that it wants to take a night off, and you got a group that comes in and they're hungry, hey, it's up for grabs.
Yeah. Now that's a perfect way of putting it. Very direct, but yes, duly noted. So I got to get you out of here, but not before I ask you, especially when I'm talking with coaches, people in certain leadership type positions. So those aspiring coaches, maybe to be coaches, or those already out there, you as a leader, as a mentor, all of those, the characteristics that come along with that. Like, what are some motivational words would you share with someone that fits in those either of those categories?
Well, it's anybody that's inspiring to be a coach on any level, and not just high school. Please do this for the outcome and not for the income,
Mm,
because of course, no, you don't get paid what you should, but at the same time, you've got to make sure that that's not your motivation. You got to make sure that it's not just about you, about who your connections, um, what I know. I can run this offense or this defense, and that's not just basketball. That's across the board, because a lot of the game today is being overcoached and undertaught. Meaning, folk worry about their plays, their systems, and they're not worried about developing the kids. They
mm,
assume that because
mm.
they're a certain age or a certain that they should already know the basics of the foundations, and that's not necessarily the case. And as a coach, you can't grade a kid or hold a kid responsible for anything that you hadn't taught them.
Mm. Now I love that period. Exclamation point, actually. That's beautiful. Just beautifully said, Shallow. And a great way to close this out. Hey, I want to publicly thank you again, obviously, as I do with everyone. But yeah, you're one of my special guys, one of my special brothers. So, and again, I know you're always busy. So many of you guys are. So whenever someone, again, as busy as you guys are, set aside your time to come on here, man. I'm so appreciative of it. But
Thank
you in
you for
particular,
having me.
hey,
Thank you
man,
for having me.
at any time. I plan to, do some leadership things down the road. There's a cadre of folks who I have in mind, kind of along the lines of what you've been sharing throughout. Some folks who have literally been there, done that. I would love to have you back on here, but yeah, I want to publicly tell you too, Shallow man, we're so proud of you, the brothers in the group, and from afar, near and afar. We talk about you and what you've done all the time. It I always say it warms my heart when I see and read that type of news from people that I know like that, right? And we all know from whence we came, kind of thing. That's what really gets me, and sometimes it gets me a little emotional too. I'm not ashamed to say that. It is what it is. But no, in all seriousness, man. Thanks again for coming on again. I got to thank you again. But we're so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I know you're proud of yourself and everything that you've accomplished thus far. And Shalom, Mr. Robinson, Coach Robinson, you so young still in this game. You got
Right.
I mean, the runway is just it's infinite, So I'm just eager to continue to watch your progression to the next level and the next, man.
Well, I absolutely thank you and appreciate that. As much as you know, and you know how I am, I never have made it about me or what I've done. And I've always
Hmm.
tried to put in the
Hmm.
predicted, to help or bless others and continue to do that. But one thing that it have to show you, man,
Uh-oh.
we talk about the house.
Uh,
We talk about the house. I wear them up under my travel uniform every time. So I
oh,
am the West Side, but I bleed BC.
there we go. And for everybody, I've said it before. That's BC for Burke County, Georgia. County seat, Waynesboro, Georgia. We're proud of it. We are country boys to the T, and love it. Wouldn't have it any other way. Taught us so much. We're around so many great people who are doing some amazing things, and folks who just love other people and love to see them progress through this thing called life. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Like this video and share it, and like any other recording that you see on the channel that may resonate with you. Leave a comment and share as well. Subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that notification button. The Life Writing Podcast is another way we creatively inform and inspire, helping people write the lives they desire. Until the next time, take care.